Hello. Hello and happy Monday, everyone.
I was gonna be like Monday, like March the 4th. You know how, I don't know. I'm just so weird. But happy Monday, guys.
But happy Monday. So, how are you feeling today, Amanda?
Um, I am good. I am finishing up my last couple of things that I need to get finalized before the March 15th deadline. So I'm doing pretty good over here. How about you?
Same. Finishing up some returns that need to be filed by the 15th. Um, feeling a little, uh, feeling a little, I want to say sleepy, but you know, we've had the flu at my house for a little over a week now, and we I think we're recovered, but it just everything's foggy. Like the past 7 days are just a fog in my mind.
Sometimes I struggle getting people to understand that when I say I'm tired, it doesn't really mean sleepy. Um, it's just a different tired.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's been interesting. So, and I think too for those of us that are in our industry, we're in the thick of our busy season. So a lot of times we don't really know what's up and what's down. The hours just run together. It, time just seems to just be on a never ending loop,
100%. It
right?
it goes so fast and so slow all at the same time. And depending on what kind of accountant you are, you're jumping into one thing and out. Just like staying focused is it's a little bit difficult. Your
It's
mind is
yeah,
racing a million miles a minute.
it's a little crazy. But I'm glad that we're doing this today because it's a nice break for you and me. Um, and it's a nice way to take a break and to maybe in a nice way vent just a little bit about some of the things that we're experiencing at this time of year, but also to give some tips and tricks to our viewers and our audience and taxpayers on how to it's the line from Jerry Maguire, help me help you, help me help you.
Okay, well, that's the best comment of the day right there. That one wins.
That's
Hi, Lance. We are so happy to have you.
Hi,
Okay,
Lance.
but really, it we're seeing it. If you're not seeing it on your LinkedIn feed, you don't have enough accountants. And you're seeing the people really start saying, "Hey, guys, like this is what I'm seeing. This is what's happening to me in my practice and at my company. If they're just an employee, they're struggling. Like it's difficult this time of year.
It,
So we're giving everybody the benefit of the doubt that it's unintentional, and we are going to give you some tips and tricks. We're very, very excited to have this conversation,
yeah,
to make
this is going to be
things
fun. I'm,
to make
I'm
things different.
yeah, this is going to be good. So let's roll the credits and let's come back and get right into it. You want to?
Yay!
All right, we'll be right back. to episode 10 of the Down Home Texas Small Business Show. Episode 10. Wow.
Okay, we just want to say thanks, you guys, because this was our little passion project that we were really excited about. So thanks for hanging out with us. But this is about you guys and not about us. So we're going to dive right in to the things that we're seeing.
I want to say one thing first. I want to shout out to our buddy, Robert Delaney.
Yes.
Robert Delaney, we're with you today. We're thinking about you today. Thoughts and prayers for successful heart surgery and a successful recovery. Robert's having heart surgery today, so he's not listening in.
Yes. Speedy recovery.
Speedy recovery to you, sir.
The surgeon's hands and all of the things.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So,
okay, so now
this for you on replay when you get back, because we know that you want to know all about how to be your tax accountant's favorite client.
Okay, so the number one thing for you, what would that be, Tammy? What is the number one thing?
Well, we have a list, and it's hard to decide what should be at the top of the list, but I'm probably going to say, be responsive, please.
Yeah.
We have, we ask questions, we request information, and we send these out, and then our hands are tied. We're waiting, and we can't work for you until we have the information. So the longer it takes you to get it to us, the longer we just sit here waiting. And it can get tough. The waiting is the hardest part.
It can get tough. Okay, so I also have trouble like boiling this down to one thing. We ultimately, I think if we can put it all into one neat, nice package, remember that we're on the same team. We are not your enemy as your tax preparer. We are not against you. We are against a deadline. But we're not against you. And so I think remembering that we're supposed to be on the same team is super, super important.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How many times, here's a good question, and I think this varies from pro to pro. How many times do you remind your clients of the deadline, or reach out and say, hey, I'm still waiting for this document or that document?
This is where I'm not the nicest. 3 strikes and you're out. Okay. So I am not in the business to chase people down to get me their information. And so I'm going to tell you a couple of times, and then I'm going to remind you that last time and say, hey, you haven't gotten me what I need, so here are the consequences. And the consequences may be you have to file an extension. Your return's not going to be filed on time. I'm going to charge you a rush fee if you do want me to file it on time. It can be a litany of things, but it is them having to take responsibility for not getting me the information.
I think that's fair.
What about you? Fair. How many?
I operate pretty much. I'm operating pretty much the same. I think 3 times is plenty. Now, I'm not going to say that I don't do more for certain people, which I probably would, depending on the circumstances. We have those, but But also for me, it comes down, in a lot of times it comes down to um, wanting to treat my clients as adults. I don't. After a while, I feel like the more I keep reaching out and reminding, the more I'm almost like treating them like children, and that's not a dynamic that I want to have with my clients. You know, I'm the mom, you're the children, and I need to constantly wrangle you. That's not the relationship that we need to be having. Um, so yeah,
So
you know.
it reminds me of what we call pulling teeth as I was growing up. I don't want to be literally pulling information out of you. Um, so, okay, we've gotten our top things for Tammy and I, but now we're going to give some scenarios and we're going to talk about ways that we can kind of avoid those.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the biggest things, Tammy, how do you stay organized? What things do you do to help your clients be organized?
Oh, well, that's a really good question. The number one thing that we use during the tax season is our secure client portal. Just about all of us have these. At this day and age, I mean, they're required because we have so many rules and regulations we have to follow as far as security of the information that we're sending back and forth. So I have a secure client portal. Every one of my clients gets set up with a login, and then all documents pass in and out of that client portal. It is very easy to use. We can create folders. It has spreadsheets inside it for you to record if you're, income and expenses, if you're self-employed. All of these things are meant to make it easier for you, the client, to be able to get me the information that I need. So I really want my clients to use the portal whenever possible.
Okay, so why? Well, okay, I'll answer my own question.
Okay.
If you send me 800 different emails, the likelihood that one of those is going to slip through the cracks is very, very high. However, if all of the documents are stored together in one portal, it's just easier for me to know that they're all there. You, as the client, can confirm on your side that everything you put into the portal is there. You can see it. And then I can see it on my side. It just makes it so much easier.
It really does. It really does. Yeah. And they usually, like you said, and they usually have messaging systems.
Yep.
So we can send secure messages back and forth. I mean, I'm not against receiving a text message or a call or an email. That's perfectly fine. But you're right. I mean, if it's held within this bubble of a system, we know it's all going to stay together and everything's right there.
And if you are working with a multi-employee firm, I know that lots of us are one people or two people shows. However, if you're working with a bigger firm, that portal gives all of the people at your firm access to your documents. Where if you're sending that text message or email to just one person, not everybody is getting it. And so that dissemination of information doesn't always go where it's needed to be.
That's true. That's true. So Amber is asking an interesting question. She says, is it odd that my CPA didn't request any other documents before filing my taxes this year? I am a first-year business owner and filed a Schedule C.
Amber, you're going to have to give us a little more detail than any other documents, because that means you did provide something. So that might have been your profit and loss. It might have been your last year's tax return. So give us a little bit more information and we can probably answer that for you.
And that, to me, that's a good question. So here's what I usually ask for. Say for a person who's self-employed, who's going to file a Schedule C. This is what I would ask to see.
Or that's
I would ask to
that would be
see.
their legal way of saying that they're acknowledging it.
Sorry, husband.
Real life, y'all.
Yeah, real life people. So, okay, so Schedule C, this is what I would ask to see. I would ask to see at least your prior year tax return, preferably 2 years tax returns. I would like to see your business. For your business, I would like to see your profit and loss and your balance sheet, or I would like to have access to your books. If you have them in QuickBooks or Xero or whatever, I would like to have access to that. Depending on what I'm seeing there, I may ask to see your bank statements. I might want to see if you've received 1099s. I would like to see those. And then what else would I like to see? We kind of flesh it out from there for me. So it depends on the industry. If we're gonna file home office expenses, then I'm going to need things like a mortgage interest statement. I'm going to need proof of what you paid for utilities, real estate taxes, insurance, things like that. But in general, to file a Schedule C, I need profit and loss, balance sheet, and I need to know that those expenses make sense to me when I'm looking at them and that I don't have any questions. That goes toward us being able to satisfy what they call due diligence requirements, which we can talk about in just a minute. What about you, Amanda? Do you ask for anything additional other than what I'm asking for?
I actually have a tax return checklist that I give to all of my 1040 clients, and it encompasses everything. I know Tammy and she didn't mention this, but I do know that this is something she does require because we were just talking about it before we hopped on. Expect to have to give your driver's license, possibly your social security card. There are identifying documents that we need that are not necessarily just income related, just to be transparent. So if somebody asks you for those things, they're not trying to steal your identity. It is a requirement for us. But for the Schedule C, we're going to take a side note. I feel like this is always a side note that we have. Amber, part of it, you say you think it must have been a really easy case, and that may be. However, there are different levels of tax preparers. There are some tax preparers who are to a T, much more like me and Tammy. And there are some who work and operate much more in the gray. And so they may not request everything. They just trust what you say. And so I trust what you say. Tammy trusts what you say, but we're trust but verify. So just know that within all professionals, you're going to have varying degrees of due diligence happening.
Correct. And like you were saying, back to due diligence, and we were talking about this just a little while ago. My system that I use to file taxes, my software, requires me to, this is just a day, I'm telling you. My system requires me to input people's identifying information. So I have to have driver's license information before I can file. So the longer it takes for me to get that information from you, the longer it takes for us to get you filed.
That's our next topic. Procrastination.
Take it away for a minute, Amanda.
Okay, guys. So we know that people are so excited to get their tax returns done, especially if they are getting a refund. Yay! Except for we're not cheering for giving the IRS an interest-free loan. Okay, we're not cheering for that. However, one of the really, really important things is to know and just remember, you are not our only client. Oh, see ya. You're not our only client. And so the closer we get to that deadline, the more clients we have who are sending in all of those last minute things. And we know it's not intentional for you guys to think only about your taxes. No interest-free loans to the government. So we just don't want everybody getting down to the last second. So what can we do? So this kind of goes back to organization. We can, as soon as we start getting documents, start putting those in the portal or putting them in a pile over on the side of our desk, a basket hanging on the wall. Those are some things that we can do. We can be proactive in communicating with our accountant. We can say, hey guys, this is all I'm waiting on. I expect to have it on XYZ date. There are definitely things that you can do to help with that procrastination, because if you reach out to myself or to Tammy and you say, I'm getting my document on March 11th. On March 11th, Amanda is going to be putting something in her calendar that says, you're giving me a document on March 11th, so that I know to kind of block out that time to work on your return. So if you're proactive in communicating those things, even when it's out of your control, it can really help with that procrastination.
Very good. Speaking of communication, how do you prefer your clients to communicate with you during the tax season? This is another topic amongst us professionals. You know, we're working, we're trying to meet deadlines, and distractions abound. No matter, it never fails. The day I'm going to sit at my desk today and I'm going to work on tax returns all day. Never happens.
I mean, that's life, but I think that this comes down to where we are in the timeline, where we are in the tax season. So if you're talking with me in October, November, December, getting ready for the next year's filing season, so you're getting a one-on-one call with me. You're going to get something very much like what you and I are doing right now. And I'm going to be asking you the questions, and I'm going to be writing down, taking notes, and tailoring things to you. However, if you were reaching out to me today on March the 4th, I am going to tell you, one, I'm probably not taking on any new clients to be filed by the deadline. Mm-hmm. So if we can get you an extension, great. If you are already my client, we talk by phone, we talk by email, we talk by our organizers that we send that pass information back and forth. We can talk in lots of ways, but you're probably not going to get that one-on-one with me right now at this point in the year. Yeah. Simply for time's sake, because if I do it for one, I want to do it for all. I believe in being equitable and fair. And honestly, we just don't have the time in our day right now. With that, that's why I've built my business the way that I've built my business, that I don't take on a high volume because I still want to give great quality. I take on fewer clients so that I can still have more of that relationship than, I can't talk to you till after April 15th. But even with that, there's still some you have to have a boundary there.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I do that a lot of people in the industry have really started doing is we're recording pre-recorded videos and sending those to you. And if that answers your questions, great. And if not, then we're jumping back in and going, okay, well, let me block out 15 or 30 minutes instead of trying to block out that 15 or 30 minutes for everybody. Those pre-recorded videos have seemed to help a lot.
Yeah. I'm
What
doing
about
that. I'm doing, well, first of all, I am doing the pre-recorded videos. That's one of the things that I've started this season because I do have many more tax clients than I did last year. So before, my plan was with every tax return was to get back with the client and go over the tax return before it was filed. Well, at some point, there's just not enough time to do that. That slows down the filing process, waiting for availability. So, like you said, there's ways to make a quick little video with a screen share, and you walk through it line by line. And then, after viewing the video, if a client still has questions, they're able to jot them in an email, shoot me a text message, and it can be answered in just a couple of minutes. That sort of thing. I'm the same way as you are. I pride myself on communication with my clients. I limit my clientele, the numbers of clients that I serve, for the same reason. But this time of year is really tough. I just, there's not enough time to give a meeting to everyone who requests and wants one. And I wish there was, but there's just not. So, we do the best we can. And I have to give deadlines just like you did. I still have new clients who are calling or emailing and saying, I need tax help this year. And we have to have cutoff times. And so my cutoff for the April 15th deadline, my cutoff was March 1st. So anybody who comes to me after March 1st has to go on extension, because I can't guarantee that I'll be able to get completed by the 15th of April. So that's just something that we have to do to protect our own time, to protect our sanity, but also to guarantee that we don't get in a rush and deliver a substandard service to the clients that we have, right?
100%. I know that
100%.
people think it's about, a lot of people think that when we put these boundaries in place, it's because we don't want to work hard or because but that's not it at all. Guys, we pride ourselves on what we do. And
Absolutely.
And a typo or anything, because we are rushing through, transposing numbers. I typed my own address into something and I was in a hurry. I typed my own address wrong.
It happens. And these are, it happens. And even the simplest personal 1040 return really isn't that simple when you input all of the data, and then because you're like me, then you're going to go back through and you're going to double check every entry just to make sure that you did not miss anything. This is the level of service that we pride ourselves on providing. So,
all tax returns deserve the same level of care, regardless of how simple they are.
Right.
And that is what we truly, truly believe. And so, yes, it is super, super important for us and for clientele to know that that is a huge part of why we put in those deadlines. And we say, we know what our capacity is, and we're not going to go over that, because then we're delivering a subpar service. It's not worth it to us.
There you go. And I I don't have a volume practice. There are volume practices out there. I don't have a volume practice. And I know you don't either.
I don't want a volume practice.
I don't want one.
So let's just take a second. Tammy, what are your main services?
Oh, okay. Good question. My main services that I offer at Balancing Act Small Business Services are bookkeeping, tax preparation, and consulting, and then operational business consulting, which I'm going to define that just a little bit. Small business operational consulting in the realm of how to start up your small business, what entity to form, and how to do it correctly. I need to hire people. How do I do that properly and make sure that I've crossed every T, dotted every I, and I've stayed in compliance the way I should be with federal and state authorities? How do I grow and profit and make my business sustainable long term as I go through the years? These are all things that I do with my years of experience as a small business manager, bookkeeper, and now as a tax pro. So what do you do?
So I am on the other end of the spectrum. I do advisory services. So my bread and butter is coming into companies who already have an accounting system in place, looking at operational efficiencies, looking at what they're doing in their business financially, and seeing if it makes sense and if they need to make any adjustments. So most of you have heard the term fractional CFO. That is my bread and butter. That is what I enjoy doing. And I offer tax returns and a light amount of bookkeeping to the people that I do fractional CFO services for. So if I am not your fractional CFO, I do not do your tax return and I do not do your bookkeeping, because I don't want that volume practice. I want to set it up the other way. I'm going to fill in the gaps for what clients need. However, I enjoy and have found it to be most beneficial when I use my experience to help the business owners really drive their business to get what they want from it. So whatever those goals look like, we're inching along towards them.
Good. Very good.
So just to, be clear with what we do, we both do tax preparation. We do it a little bit differently.
We do. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now back to our list. Sorry, I got us on a
list.
side note.
That's okay. That's okay. So we've gone over procrastination, response times. Have you ever had a client who just expected you to produce a miracle?
Yes. Yes. And you want to know what's funny? I think it depends on what time of the year you get with an accountant on whether or not they can produce a miracle. Normally that miracle is somehow tax savings. It's not a baby. It's tax savings, right? If you get with an accountant in time, there's planning and strategies that can be put in place, and those are completely doable.
Yes.
However,
when is the right time? When is the right time to do that?
it depends on what you, and I know everybody hates the answer, it depends, but it depends on what you're needing. If you're needing an S Corp election, you don't need to wait until the next year, because you need reasonable compensation in the year you're filing the S Corp election. If you're needing a home office deduction, it can be done before your tax return is filed in busy season, unless you have to have an accountable plan. And an accountable plan, so the answer is it depends in so many things because each scenario is specific. So it's just really important. If you're looking for a new accountant, I would start looking in November.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is they are coming off of an October 15th or 17th or 18th deadline, depending on holidays and extensions. They're tired. Give them a couple of weeks to breathe. I'm just going to be real honest. They're tired because September and October are hard deadlines. If you guys don't know what that means in accounting, with your tax returns, your business returns that are due in March can get a 6-month extension until September. But when you hit September, there is no more extension.
Right.
And the same is true from April to October with a personal return. So September and October are hard deadlines. There is nothing that we can do if it's missed. It's just missed. We can't file an extra extension. So we're tired. We really are doing our best to jump in and make sure that all of the returns that are in our control are out the door. So leave us alone the end of October. Let us have Halloween. And then get with us the very, very beginning of November for that appointment. I mean, lots of us are, that's when we start looking for people. So if I were looking, that's what I would do. What about you? What's the best time when it comes to you, Tammy?
No, I totally agree with that. November is a great time if you're gonna start shopping. November's a great time, and when you make that appointment, maybe book an hour consultation. Bring your previous year's tax returns with you. Here's some things that you need to bring with you. Here's some things you need to know when you come to the table. Know if you're a business. Know what your business entity is. Okay? That's important. You need to know if you are a single member LLC, if you're a partnership, if you're an S Corp. We need to know that, and we need to know for sure because it makes a difference as to how we treat you and what we do for you. So know those things.
Clarification. Not in how we treat you as a person or a client.
No. Not as a client, but how we treat you professionally and what we file for you and what your requirements are going to be.
Yes.
So that matters. Bring your previous year's tax return, maybe the previous 2 years, because that will give us some insight on what has been happening, and we can glance at that and be able to we'll be able to get some insights as to what's been going on that way. And then maybe before you meet with us, go ahead and take some time to make a list of your concerns and questions beforehand. That way, you don't forget anything, number one. And then number two, you've gathered your thoughts and you won't get distracted. And you can even present your list. You can say, these are the things that I've come to talk to you about today. I made a list. I want to make sure that we touch on every one of these points, please. Okay. I would love that.
Hold on. So are these paid consultations or are these get to know you discovery calls?
For me, this particular type of consultation would be a paid consultation.
Me as well. I just wanted to, again, clarify that because if you are asking us for advice or any scenario specific information, we will be compensated for that. We deserve to be compensated for that. So just to, I've had several people who jump on calls with me who I do give free 15-minute discovery,
Sure.
are we a good fit calls? And in those calls, they very much anticipate accounting advice. And that should not be the expectation.
Sure. Same. I mean, we can in a free consultation, the way I see it, in a free consultation, I can speak in generalities. But what I won't do is take the time to review documents. I'm not going to get into detail and lay out a step-by-step plan for you. That would come later, or it would come with a paid consultation. Because like you said, there's value in that. That's something that takes up more time. And I think, as with any professional who's in a field like us, I mean, it's the same with an attorney or with a physician. It would be the same thing, a professional service.
100%. Okay, so some of the next things that we're gonna kind of talk about, I want to bunch them together.
Okay.
But before we do that, I want to very quickly touch on fees and questioning fees, because this is kind of a hot topic in the accounting world.
Yeah.
Some people charge, I've seen $125 business returns.
Ooh.
I charge way differently than that, guys. So if you expect that not from me or Tammy, I know that for 100% certainty. So how do we get around questioning fees?
Well, okay, fees. I think you have, as a client, I would say, you have to have an idea of what it is that you're paying for, right? So, and I don't want to diss any service, because there are legitimate do-it-yourself services. There's nothing wrong with TurboTax.
Mm-hmm.
TurboTax is a great DIY service, and it's totally worth $39.95 or $49.95 or whatever it is that it costs. Our services are worth more because they are personalized, and they are they're specialized to you and your scenarios and your circumstances. Whereas something like TurboTax is more of a fill in the blank. Do you have this? Yes, no. Do you have this? Yes, no. It's somewhat generic. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And again, no diss to TurboTax. I've used TurboTax.
No diss at all. I've used TurboTax. Yeah.
So we just want to make that clear. TurboTax, don't come at us. However, we know that when you DIY things and you are unsure what you're doing, it can be problematic.
It can be.
It can be very problematic. So we are giving you assurances. You want to know what? I had somebody reach out to me last year, and they said, I owe way too much in tax. Will you look at it? I've already run my tax return on TurboTax. Here's what I'm getting back. And so it was somebody that I'm close to, and I ran the numbers, and I said, I can't do anything for you that you didn't do on TurboTax. You did it right. And you want to know what we didn't do? We didn't work together, because they had already done it on TurboTax, and it was going to be so much cheaper for them to do TurboTax. They did have a very simple return. Let me clarify. However, had there been a difference, they would have been more than willing to pay for my services, and that would have been the expectation. Sometimes you need to just know that you haven't done anything wrong. Now, do not go to a professional and trick them into verifying your return for you. Okay? Okay.
Okay.
That would not be
Point
nice.
taken. Point taken. I would
Engagement
also
letters, Tammy, do you give, okay, so I know this about Tammy's practice. You give engagement letters, you give ranges to help alleviate the questions over fees. You can do set fee schedules. Those are all things that can be done to help alleviate the conversation around fees. And if you're not working with people who are doing those things, who are, I know you can't always to the dollar give, this is what it's going to cost if you're charging hourly. However, or by schedule or whatever the case may be, you may not know, but you should be given a range of your return is going to cost between $500 and $900. At the high end, are you comfortable paying that? Because if you're not, that is not your preparer. So as a professional, and Tammy and I, we share a lot of Facebook groups, and there was one, I believe it was the end of last year, and they were really, really upset that they were paying $8,000 for 5 returns. And they were very, very frustrated because the work had already been done and they couldn't do anything about it because they didn't agree up front on how much that was going to cost. So if you are price sensitive, there is nothing wrong with that. Make sure you're getting those pricings up front.
Yeah.
Even if you're not super price sensitive, make sure people aren't price gouging you up front.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
So pricing, there's a couple things you can do to be proactive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I always, generally always give my clients a low end to high end range. Because like you said, most of the time we don't exactly know what all is entailed in that filing until we have it all put together.
Yes. And
Yes.
this is where this is going to lead us directly into that next portion of all the things we're going to lump together. So we're going to kind of lump together what is the responsibility of the client.
Okay.
So client responsibility. It is on you to know, again, what Tammy said earlier, what type of entity you are, whether you are a cash or accrual basis taxpayer. There are certain things that you just need to know and should be able to answer without a second thought.
Correct.
Those are your responsibility. The way that we as professionals have to report those things are different depending on your answers to the questions.
Correct.
Some are more complex than others. And so we charge more. There's more value for you in the more complex transaction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is.
So that is just the first part of it. What is taxpayer responsibility? Second thing in taxpayer responsibility. Tammy, who is responsible at the end of the day with the IRS for the tax return?
You, the taxpayer. You, the taxpayer, are responsible for what goes on your return.
What does that mean?
It means that although I prepared it and my name and signature are on it as the paid preparer, ultimately you, the tax preparer, are responsible for what is reported
Taxpayer.
on it. The taxpayer are responsible for what is reported on your return.
Mhm.
So if the IRS looks at your return and they have an issue with an amount of deduction, or if they say your income is not reported properly, if they have any issue with it at all, their issue is with you, not me. Um, am I going to help you with it? Of course I am. That's my job. But it's
Right.
not, but it isn't my responsibility
Mm-mm.
to ensure that all of your deductions were correct, or to make
100%. We
sure
do
that you
not audit.
reported your income correctly. I'm only as good as the information you give me.
And we will request additional information when we
Yes.
feel like there may be additional information.
Yes.
However, it is still on you, taxpayer, to report
Yes.
things accurately.
To report accurately, which is why we, as responsible tax preparers, want to be sure that before you sign off on that return, that you understand what it says and
Mhm.
what is being reported. I don't know that every tax preparer, I would think that every tax preparer does that, but I don't know that they do.
They do
I
not,
can,
and you know
I
they do
can't,
not.
I can't imagine filing someone's tax return without them having reviewed it and said, okay, I'm good with this.
I mean, but think about the taxpayers who sign it within 1 minute of getting it. Yes, send it to me and I'll sign it. So you
They
know
do.
they haven't had time to diligently review that return.
True.
So we take every precaution we can. However, ultimately, taxpayers responsible. And that's just something that you guys need to know. While we hold your hand and we are a team,
Right.
the IRS is looking at you. The
At
state
you.
of
At you.
wherever you live is looking at you.
Right. So if if at the end, if the bottom line is, you come up and you owe several $1,000s that you didn't expect to owe, you can, you can blame us if you want to, but it isn't our fault.
No.
Legitimate.
We report what is.
We report what is.
We report what is.
We report what is. Right. That's an uncomfortable conversation to have. I have had to have the conversation with clients who were, expecting things to go one way and they went completely the opposite way. And I have had to have that conversation and sit down and say, this did not turn out the way you wanted. And I'm so sorry. However, these are what the numbers are, and they weren't very happy about it, but I can only work with what is there, and that's not an invitation to start changing numbers. That
No.
that is a red flag. and brings up another one of ones on our list, which is, I would say, disregard for tax law.
No, we would.
Maybe
Clients
to
would
come up
never
and
do
just
that.
say, "Oh, I didn't realize I was going to owe $10,000. I forgot about this $10,000 expense."
Yes.
Oh, that's convenient.
So convenient.
So convenient.
You know,
That would never happen, would it?
Here's the deal. If you're putting all of your, and we're going to go back to don't commingle your funds. So that's this little PSA that we're going to add in right here. if you're keeping your business and your personal expenses separate, you should never be finding a new deduction.
This is true. This is
It's
true.
already in your business.
You're, and I will tell you in my experience, because I do bookkeeping, one of the best ways that you can be at the top of my favorites list is to keep good, clean books. Keep clean books, reconcile them, make sure that they're correct. And if you don't want to do it, hire me, let me do it for you.
As a CFO, I second that.
Do you
I want you.
Yeah.
No, I don't want you. I need you to have clean and accurate books so that I can advise you accurately and properly.
Yes.
If you do not have clean and accurate books, any bit of planning we are doing is based off of garbage in, and it will be garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out. Yes. I do have just a couple of clients of an older generation who do bring me manila folders with ledgers, and that's fine. That's fine. I prefer to have systems. But I'll tell you this too. They are charged additional time for what I have to spend arranging those numbers and getting them into a system to where they can be recorded properly. To me, that's bookkeeping time. Mm-hmm. And when it's tax season, I don't charge bookkeeping time as a bookkeeper. I charge bookkeeping time as an enrolled agent, and that's much higher. So,
ooh, yep. See, that's where that fee schedule is so
that's
important.
where the fee schedule comes in. Right.
Okay, so on that topic, I have two comments on that. One of my first years after I graduated with my master's, so I've been doing taxes long before I got my master's degree and my CPA license, just to throw that out there for everybody. One of the first tax seasons after I had gotten my master's degree and I was sitting for my CPA exams, I had two examples. I had a Schedule C person. They gave us all of their bank statements, and I had to take out every charge that was below, I think it was $7.50 at the convenience store, because it was most likely, and this was from my boss, cigarettes or soda. Okay. Second, that was the most time-consuming tax return I've ever worked on in my life, by the way. Second thing, I had somebody, he was a farmer, who brought in those green journals that you're talking about. It was the most well put together set of books ever.
Yeah, I have one that does that. And they're incredibly accurate and concise. And they're handwritten. But yes.
And this is an accounting thing, but accounting is double entry. So for every debit, you have to have a credit. It has to balance. It's a double entry system, which is a nerd thing for accountants. But it was a double entry system, and I loved it. I was like, thank you for, it was my first farm return.
Yeah.
Just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, I have one of those. He came on board last year was my first year to work for him, and he'll be back this year. So, yeah. He's one of my favorite clients to work with.
And it's paper. So guys, I know that we're going into technology. Mm-hmm. However, I mean, some of us still write with pen and paper. Well, it's pencil.
Sure.
But I still have paper. I still keep a journal, or I take notes. Sure. We're not saying that that clients who have paper are bad. Make sure it's well organized paper. Make sure you give us all of the information paper.
That's the key. You just said the word organized. That's the key right there. Organized. You can have all the software in the world and be completely disorganized.
Oh, have we seen those books?
And we've seen those books. So, being organized is the ticket. For sure.
So guys, we are so thankful for those of you who stuck it out with us. We know we're hitting right at our hour mark. And this is a hard time of year for accountants. Whether we do taxes full time or whether we do them a few taxes for our clients, it's still a stressful time of year for us. And anything that we can do to make that relationship better and work as more of a partnership on both sides, we are all for that.
Right. So let's recap just a little bit. Recap. And these are in no particular order, but we'll say these are the things that we would like for you to do as clients that make our lives and our jobs easier, right?
Yep.
So number 1, be responsive to our questions and respectful of our deadlines. Okay. Number 2, be as organized as you possibly can. Number 3, don't procrastinate. The sooner that you can get everything together and into us, the better it'll be for not just for us, but the better it'll be for you too, because you'll be that much further ahead in line of everybody, right?
Oh, yeah. Talk about fees up front.
Yeah, talk about your fees up front. Know what to expect up front.
Yes. Know what your responsibilities are as a taxpayer. So that goes back to your filing status, your filing deadlines. All of those things are your responsibility, and be able to communicate those or research and find the answer.
Yeah. And communication is a good subject. Learn or understand how your particular professional wants to communicate with you during tax season and outside of tax season.
Yep.
And if they haven't made that clear to you, ask them.
Yep.
Do you prefer emails? Do you prefer messages within the client portal? What's the best way to reach you when I need to?
And how are you going to expect, how tax preparer are you going to expect me to communicate the things that I need you to know? So whether that's that tax organizer, whether it's an email or a text or a Slack message, how do you want me to communicate within your system? Because the way that we tax preparers, accountants operate, we do operate within systems, and we would like our clients to somewhat operate within that same system with us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's correct. So this has been good. I hope that people out there have gotten something beneficial out of it.
And we just want to point out, when we discussed this topic, it was very important for us that this did not become a bitch fest. Yes. And so what I will say is I'm very, very proud that we have been able to take what we have been through or our colleagues have been through and put it in a way that shows it truly is a partnership. And we want you guys to know so that we can all do better.
I like that word, partnership.
It's important.
A lot. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
So let's continue to partner together and get those tax returns filed accurately
And
on time.
timely.
Yes, absolutely. I am ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I'm all psyched up about it now.
I know. This was a great, it was a great show today.
It was a good show. All right. Well, with that, I guess we'll say goodbye and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another exciting topic.
Thanks for hanging out, y'all.
Thanks for hanging out. We'll see y'all next time.